Golden Friends and share in a day with the third grade class and their special play that they have practiced, especially for you. It's awfully hard to think back of what it was like to be 8 or 9 years old. Every year it gets harder for me because I've been doing this for about 15 years. Do you realize that the only time in our lives when we like to get old is when we're kids? If you're less than 10 years old, you're so excited about aging that you think in fractions. How old are you? I'm 4 and a half. You're never 36 and a half. But you're 4 and a half going on 5. That's the key. You get into your teens. Now they can't hold you back. You jump to the next number. How old are you? I'm going to be 16. You could be 12, but you're going to be 16. And then the greatest day of your life happens, you become 21. Even the words sound like a ceremony. You become 21. Yes. But then you turn 30. What happened here now? It makes you sound like bad milk or something. You turn. He turned. We have to throw him out. There's no fun now. What's wrong? What changed? Age is not really what's important. What's really important are to the children. And I found this to be true. Our family and friends. So their family's here. So are their friends. So let's start the show. Everybody ready?
Yep.
Many history teachers have taught you all about what each president did, of that we have no doubt. But today we will bring you another kind of show to tell you things about them that you may not know. One had 15 children. That was quite a haul. And another one never got married at all. At 300 pounds, one was quite a big fellow. Another's wife really hated the color yellow. One had a White House filled with dogs and cats and such. But now we're starting to tell you too much. So let's begin this little show that we do. A president's presentation from us. George Washington. We know that it is easy to understand why Washington was the first president of our land. But we bet you don't know this other truth. By the age of 57, he had lost every tooth.
I searched to find false teeth that were comfortable. I had wooden teeth, whalebone teeth, and teeth made out of deer antlers. Once a French dentist even carved me a set of teeth made out of rhinoceros ivory.
John Adams. You just may know that Adams was the first to reside at our famous White House with Abigail inside. But we would like to tell you another fact. He had the longest lifespan, 90 to be exact.
My family and I were the first family to move into the White House. When we got there, only 6 rooms were ready. My wife, Abigail, had to hang her laundry in the East room.
Thomas Jefferson. Sure, he wrote the Declaration of Independence, and yes, he had the most living descendants. But we wonder if you know the simple little thing. He kept a mockingbird in his study, just to hear it sing.
My mockingbird rode along on my shoulder and hopped along behind me. It even learned to eat from my lips.
James Madison. You've all heard about how Washington was burned. The British thought we had a lesson to be learned. But we bet you don't know that before they did it, they found Madison's meal and ate every tidbit.
When the British were burning buildings in Washington, my wife, Dolly, waited to leave the White House. When the British got there, they ate the meal before they burned the beautiful mansion.
James Monroe. You know that the Monroe Doctrine clearly states that countries should be left to settle their own fates. But we bet you don't know he did some things wrong. He chased the Secretary of the Treasury with fire tongs.
It is said that I was once so unhappy with the Secretary of Treasury that I chased him out of the White House with fire tongs.
John Quincy Adams, the only president whose father was also one. He was an able leader when all was said and done. Yet his shabby dressing drove designers to tears. He wore the very same hat for over 10 years. And something else, though you may well know it, he's the only president who was a published poet.
When I was president, I woke up very early in the morning to write my diary. Some very warm mornings, I would sneak down to the Potomac River behind the White House to go swimming.
And of course, we know that this play was written a little bit before our latest president. That one fact there, I think we could change. There are 2 presidents now that have fathers. Andrew Jackson. He was the 7th president of our great land and was very popular for taking his stand. But he was a brawler with his share of strife. A bullet lodged near his heart for most of his life.
I was famous for being tough and getting into fights, but I loved children and raised 11 in my lifetime. None of the children were my own.
Martin Van Buren. In style, Van Buren had a fancy approach with cologne and corsets and a fancy coach. And every day his agenda would include a chef from London to prepare his food.
I hired a chef from London. I ate my food on the finest china and I used the golden spoon.
William Henry Harrison. It is very sad that Harrison's days were done after they had numbered only 31. On inaugural day, he took a horse ride and from the dampness and cold got sick and died.
I was the first president to die in office. My wife Anna and my 10 children never had a chance to live in the White House in Washington.
John Tyler. Historians say Tyler was a pretty good man. He helped settlers go west to develop the land. And of his private life he will quickly glean. When we tell that for children, he had 15.
I had the most children of any U.S. president. It is said that I was playing marbles with my children when I learned that I was elected president.
James Knox Polk. A more serious president you'll never find. Polk worked 14 hours a day and didn't mind. No refreshments were found at the inaugural ball. As for dancing and music, there was none at all.
It was said that I was so tired from my job as president that I died just 3 months after leaving office.
Zachary Taylor. You know that Taylor as a soldier was fine. In the war with Mexico, he held the line, but he had never held an elected post, and doubted as president he could do his utmost. And this little fact ought to be noted. When nominated for president, he had never voted.
I was president for only 16 months. The doctors at that time thought I died because I ate cherries after drinking milk on a hot day.
Millard Fillmore. Millard Fillmore is a name not known among men, and many people ask he was president when? Still, he found many important things to do. He bought the first White House stove and bathtub, too.
My cook couldn't figure out how the new stove at the White House worked, so he never used it. I went to the patent office to learn how to use it and then came back to teach my cook.
Frank. And they wrote a song about her you just may have heard, for the name of it is...
Listen to the mockingbird. My beautiful niece, Harriet Lane, was raised by me after orphan at the age of 9. She served as my hostess in the White House while we lived there together.
Abraham Lincoln. But there is something else that is worth a mention. When elected president, he had lost 8 elections.
I didn't like to wear gloves. When my wife Mary gave me a pair, I stuffed them into my pocket. One time I found 7 pairs all in my pocket.
Andrew Johnson. Following Lincoln wasn't easy for this man, but in fairness, Ulysses S. Grant was a war hero, is no news to relay. But did you know he smoked 20 cigars a day? And here's another thing to which we can attest. For speeding in his carriage, he was put under arrest.
When an officer recognized me for speeding, he wanted to let me go, except I insisted that he do his duty and arrest me.
Rutherford B. Hayes. Though he won the election by just brought reform in the White House, something we should note. And he bought the first White House phone as well. And do you know who he called? Alexander Graham Bell.
I talked to Alexander Graham Bell from 1,300 miles away. My first words were, "Please speak a little more slowly."
James Garfield. The term of Garfield was tragically short, only half a year we must report. Still, in that time, Garfield performed some good. Against a spoils system, he firmly stood. And we're not saying this just to rhyme. He could write with both hands at the very same time.
It was said that I could write with both hands at the same time. I could write Latin with one hand, while I could write Greek with the other.
Chester Arthur. Elegant art. In his stature, he was both tall and trim. He always wore gloves and a buttonhole flower, and a French chef cooked meals that lasted 2 hours. In newspapers of the time, the reporters wrote that he owned 80 trousers and 25 coats.
I wouldn't move into the White House until it was completely refurnished. 24 wagon loads of White House belongings were sold at a public auction.
Grover, beloved First Lady, and will share with you another truth. A candy bar was named for their child, Baby Ruth.
I was the first president to serve 2 separate terms and the first to have fireworks at my inauguration.
Then 23rd president. Still, when 11 Harrisons moved in with their troop, there was only one bathroom for the entire group.
Electric lights were first installed in the White House when I was president. My whole family and I went to bed with the lights on because all of us were too afraid to touch the switches.
William McKinley. McKinley has courage guy. He was over 300 pounds in size. We don't have to tell you he ran out of luck when one day in the White House tub, he got stuck.
A bathtub large enough for 4 men was built for me after I got stuck and needed to be helped out.
Woodrow Wilson. That Woodrow Wilson was president during World War I, we can affirm. And that he suffered a stroke during the end of his term. And he was pretty bright. We think you will agree he was the only president to have a PhD.
During World War I, there was a shortage of workers. I used a flock of sheep to trim the White House lawn. One of the sheep named Old Ike chewed tobacco.
Warren G. Harding. You probably know of the scandal called the Teapot Dome. That happened when Harding called the White House his home. But maybe you'd like another fact to note. Harding was the first president for whom women could vote. And another thing that may seem unreal, he was the first to drive to inauguration in an automobile.
My dog, Laddie Boy, delivered the president's newspapers each day. A special cake was served on Laddie Boy's birthday. Many layers of dog biscuits topped with frosting.
LBJ were the initials of his whole family. And believe it or not, as a child, he would say, "I'm going to be president of this country someday."
My family had all the same initials. Lady Bird Johnson, Linda Bird Johnson, and Lucy Baines Johnson. I once said that it made monogramming cheaper.
Richard M. Nixon. Nixon entered politics by answering an ad. They needed a candidate, and Nixon was glad. He visited China and all 50 states, but was the only president to resign, we're sad to relate. So he was the only president never elected. And we tell you this honestly, as football truthsayers, at Michigan, Ford had been most valuable players.
I became vice president for Nixon when Spearman and Louise resigned. And then I became president when Nixon resigned. I was the only president not elected for office.
Jimmy Carter. Since the Civil War, he walked to the White House after inauguration. There is something else at which he was a starter. He had a TV call-in show, Ask Mr. Carter.
I was a peanut farmer in Georgia before I was elected president.
A giant peanut.
A giant peanut-shaped balloon was part of the Inauguration Day parade.
Ronald Reagan. And he liked jelly beans, jelly bellies, so much that he found on a hospital stay once he received 500 pounds.
I was the first actor to become president. I made over 50 movies. I always kept a jar of jelly bellies on my desk in the Oval Office.
Some power. But he is used to being the man of the hour. He's been a governor, a scholar, and a musician who rocks. #1 to Chelsea, Buddy, and Socks.
I got A's all through high school. I was a Rhodes Scholar and studied in Oxford. I like to drive Mustangs and play my saxophone.
Here. With that, we will conclude our presentation about the presidents of our great nation. We hope you had some fun and learned a bunch. Now let's
Get together for some presidential punch.
1, 2, 3. Thank you so much for sharing this play with us, and your child will come and get you and serve you some punch. You are certainly welcome to go down the hall and see their special President's games that they constructed, and you might even like to enjoy a little third grade recess. And thank you again, and I hope you enjoyed the show.
Mrs. Scuderi, go back down.
Chris, this wasn't part of the rehearsal.
I know.
I never know with this group.
We would like to thank you for letting us do such a great job and helping us with this President's play.
wrong. Okay.